When James tried to interrupt, she calmly stated, "I have the emails showing the original schedule. If there were changes, I'm sure you can show everyone the communication trail." He couldn't, of course. And that moment, that simple act of standing firm in her reality, was the beginning of Sarah's liberation. This brings us to an important point. Recognizing gaslighting is one thing, but breaking free from it is another challenge entirely. The gaslighter has spent so much time and effort making you doubt yourself that standing firm in your reality feels like trying to walk against a hurricane. Here are the patterns to watch for. They make you question your memory. That never happened. You must be confused. They deny your perception. You're just seeing things. You're too sensitive. They trivialize your feelings. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? They shift blame. If you weren't so insecure, I wouldn't have to explain everything. They use compassionate words to manipulate. I'm saying this because I care about you. They align people against you. Everyone agrees with me on this. Ask anyone. But here's what you need to remember. Your memories are valid. Your feelings are valid. Your perception of reality is valid. Gaslighters succeed because they make you think that questioning them is questioning yourself. Sarah's story doesn't end with that presentation. Breaking free from gaslighting isn't a single moment of triumph. It's a process of reclaiming your reality piece by piece. She started keeping detailed notes of conversations and events. She rebuilt connections with friends she'd grown distant from. She began trusting her instincts again. Most importantly, she learned that gaslighting says more about the manipulator than the manipulated. Gaslighters often choose strong, confident people as targets because breaking them down makes the gaslighter feel more powerful. The very traits that attract a gaslighter, independence, intelligence, strong sense of self, are the same traits that can help you break free. The aftermath of gaslighting can leave deep scars. Many survivors struggle with self-doubt long after leaving the relationship. But here's the beautiful thing about healing. Every time you stand firm in your truth, every time you trust your memory, every time you honor your feelings, you're rebuilding the foundation of self-trust that gaslighting tried to destroy. Sarah eventually left both James and the company. She started her own software consultancy, where she now helps other companies build secure systems, because she understands better than most how important it is to protect what's valuable from manipulation and interference. Let's be clear, gaslighting isn't always as obvious as in Sarah's story. It can happen in any relationship, romantic partners, family members, friends, colleagues, even in political or social contexts. The key is to remember that your reality, your experiences and your feelings are valid, even if someone else tries to convince you otherwise. If you recognize these patterns in your own life, remember, you're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not imagining things. What you're experiencing is real, and you have every right to trust your own perception of reality. The first step to breaking free from gaslighting is simply acknowledging its possibility. The second step is reaching out for help to friends, family, or professional counselors who can help you rebuild your sense of reality. The third step is learning to trust yourself again, even when it feels impossible. Remember, the truth doesn't need elaborate explanations or constant defense. It simply is. Anyone who tries to make you constantly defend your reality might be trying to replace it with their own. And if you're watching this and recognizing these patterns in someone else's life, be that steady friend who says, "I believe you. What you're experiencing is real." Sometimes that simple affirmation can be the lighthouse that helps someone find their way back to shore. Before I wrap up this video, I want to leave you with this thought. Your mind is your home. Your memories are your foundation. Your feelings are your compass. Don't let anyone convince you to doubt the very things that make you, you. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more content about understanding and protecting your mental health. Drop a comment below if you have any questions or experiences you'd like to share. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Stay strong, stay aware, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. I'll see you in the next video. You're absolutely certain you put your keys on the kitchen counter last night. You always put them there. It's a habit you've had for years, but this morning, they're not there. Your partner finds them in the living room and says, "Don't you remember? You were tired last night and left them there. You've been so forgetful lately. I'm getting worried about you." A small seed of doubt plants itself in your mind. Maybe you did leave them there. You have been stressed lately, but something doesn't feel quite right. This, my friends, is how gaslighting often begins, with something so small, so seemingly insignificant that you barely notice it. But like a toxic vine, it grows, wrapping itself around your reality until you can't tell up from down anymore. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most insidious forms of psychological manipulation, gaslighting. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll not only understand what it is, but you'll be able to spot it from a mile away. Let me introduce you to Sarah. Sarah was a brilliant software engineer who prided herself on her problem-solving abilities and sharp memory. She met James at a tech conference, charming, successful, and seemingly perfect. Their relationship started like a fairy tale, but fairy tales don't always tell the whole story, do they? It began with small things. James would change plans they'd made and insist they'd never agreed to the original arrangement. When Sarah would show him their text messages as proof, he'd say things like, "Oh, you're taking that too literally," or "I can't believe you're keeping score like this." During team meetings at work, Sarah would make suggestions, and James, who worked at the same company, would later claim she never spoke up. "You're remembering it wrong," he'd say. "You were quiet the whole time. Everyone noticed." But Sarah remembered speaking. She remembered the nodding heads of her colleagues. Yet somehow, James's version of reality started to feel more real than her own memories. The manipulation grew more sophisticated. James began commenting on Sarah's relationship with her friends. "Did you notice how Kate looked at you funny? She probably thinks you're being too aggressive again." Sarah hadn't noticed anything wrong, but now she couldn't stop thinking about it. She started second-guessing every interaction, every word she spoke. Here's where we need to pause and understand something crucial. Gaslighting isn't just about lying or manipulation. It's about making someone question their entire reality. The term actually comes from a 1938 play called Gaslight, and later made into a movie, where a husband deliberately dims the gas lights in their home but tells his wife she's imagining the change. This systematic manipulation makes her question her sanity. Let's break down what makes gaslighting so effective. First, it's gradual. The gaslighter doesn't start with big lies. They start with tiny distortions of reality, so tiny that questioning them seems more paranoid than accepting them. It's like the story of how to boil a frog. You don't throw it into boiling water. You slowly heat the water until it's too late. Second, it's consistent. The gaslighter never breaks character. They maintain their alternative version of reality with such conviction that you start to think, well, maybe they're right. They seem so sure. Third, it isolates. By making you question your relationships, your memories, and your judgment, gaslighting cuts you off from your support system. After all, if you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? The answer, according to the gaslighter, is them, only them. Back to Sarah. As months passed, she found herself apologizing constantly. apologizing for misunderstanding, for being too sensitive, for being confused. The confident engineer who could debug complex systems now couldn't trust her own memory of what she had for breakfast. The turning point came during a crucial project presentation. Sarah had spent weeks preparing, double-checking every detail. But minutes before she was supposed to present, James casually mentioned, "Oh, didn't you see my email? We rescheduled it for next week. I told everyone you needed more time to prepare." There was no email. Sarah knew there was no email. She had checked her inbox obsessively, as she'd been doing lately with everything. Something snapped inside her, not in a breaking way, but in a awakening way, like a circuit finally connecting. She pulled out her phone and showed James her email inbox. "Show me this email," she said, her voice steady. James's response was textbook gaslighting. "Why are you being so aggressive? This isn't like you. You're obviously stressed. Maybe you should take some time off." But this time, Sarah didn't back down. She forwarded her presentation to her entire team and their manager, saying she was ready to present as scheduled.